My name is Sarah Wingert. I study archaeology here at Kutztown University, and I conducted research on Native American bows and arrows. I researched Native American bows and arrows, as you can kind of see here, and I more in-depth studied how we can trace back perishable projectiles in the archaeological record. So in short, I kind of looked to see if there's a different way we can see wooden arrow points in the record. For my experiment, I made my own set of Native American bows and arrows, and I shot them into deer rib cages and studied microscopically what the different damage signatures look like. I researched through a bunch of different Native American groups, and it was approximately 32 or 34, seeing what types of materials they said that they used for their bows and their arrows and their fletching and all that. And I made a tally list, and I used the most popular. So for my arrows, I used dogwood, and for the bow, I used ash. And I used red hawk feathers for the fletching, and as kind of substitutes, I used imitation sinew for the bowstrings and wood glue for the glue as the for the fletching. The arrows are approximately 22 to 24 inches, and the bow I made to my height specifically, so it's about 3.5 feet. In order to better get an idea of finding the perishable projectiles, which are the wooden arrow points in the record, I had to make different types of arrows to see the difference. So I made wooden, fire hardened, and the stone arrow points. And I then had a different rib cage for each type of arrow so they didn't kind of get mixed up. And then after I cleaned everything after the second experiment, I started analyzing them microscopically. And for the experiment itself, I laid the rib cages on a stack of hay bales, and to kind of simulate the approximate height of a white-tailed deer, which I chose a deer because it's a very well-hunted animal in the area. And I chose the rib cages because if you're going to hit a deer, if it's back then, at least when Native Americans would be hunting, the biggest target is the rib cage. Nowadays, you don't want to hit that because of all the ribs. But if you're shooting with a bow and arrow, it's most likely going to be somewhere you'll hit eventually, even if it's a miss. After I conducted my experiment, we cleaned the rib cages, got all the meat off, and I started to analyze the bones, but realized that there wasn't enough damage or as much as I thought. So I had to conduct a second experiment where my professor and I created this rig that I had to stand on a chair and shoot down at the rib cages that I made ballistic molds. I got some of the ribs and I kind of made the ballistics gel mold so that I would be able to see the ribs and better hit them. And I was surprised that the stone arrow points, you'd expect them to be more harsh, but when I was shooting at the deer rib cages, they just kept bouncing off, where the wooden ones actually penetrated the target. And so that I found interesting. And compared to the damage that they did, the stone arrow points created more of like a splintering shatter where it just kind of was chaotic. Where the wooden and the fire hardened, it still broke the bone, but it was a little bit more organized in a way where it was kind of plated. It wasn't fractured at all. And I was able to present this research at a couple different conferences, an international archaeology conference in Vancouver, a Pennsylvania State conference in Harrisburg, a national conference in DC, and another state conference that I was an invited speaker that I got to make an oral presentation for. Well, this information I'm currently writing a paper on, and I'm hoping to put it on a peer-reviewed website to get the information out there to help other archaeologists better kind of understand and grasp the adoption of the bow and arrow in North America specifically, but maybe it'll help other places as well. And this information or this project kind of helped me get into grad school, and I'm going to grad school for experimental archaeology in Dublin, Ireland. So I'm hoping that I can either continue this research or this research can help me with further research later.